Yo, what's happening guys? Welcome to your 17th Bootstrap 3 tutorial, and in this video we're going to take a look at Navbars. Alright then campers, so we are looking at the code right here that we did in the last tutorial where we looked at nav tabs and nav pills, and that gives us something like this, a nice little navigation system. Now this is really cool, and I typically use it for kind of sub-navigations on my website, but I wouldn't necessarily use it for the main navigation at the top of my website. For that, there's something a little bit better. So I'm going to show you that today. And what we want to do first of all is take off these classes, nav tabs and nav justified. But we're going to keep this class right here, this nav class, because that's kind of like a universal class that we apply to any kind of navigation UL. All right. So that all stays the same, but what I want to do now is give this UL a different class, and the class that I'm going to give it is navbar -nav. Okay, so that's the UL done. Now what we need to do is nest this inside of a nav element. So we'll do that, and this nav element is just a HTML5 element, makes navigations a little bit more semantic. So we'll do that and zoom this in. And we also need to apply a class or two to this nav element as well. So we'll just do that. Now the first class I want to give this is just navbar. And then the second class I want to give this is either navbar default or navbar inverse, depending on how you want the navbar to look. Now I'll start off and I'll show you navbar inverse. That's just kind of like a dark colour, so it inverses the colours. Should have shown you default really to begin with, but I'll show you that now. And that's the colour of this. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it with default for now. And I know there's a lot of classes here, guys, to get your head around when you take into account the ones we covered in the last tutorial as well. It is really just a case of either memorising them or just heading over to the Bootstrap documentation whenever you want to look something up. It only takes 5 seconds. Alright, so once we have done that, we can leave it there if we like. But if we take a look at this, I typically like my top navigations to stretch all the way across from left to right and not to have this little gap at the top. Okay. Now the reason it's doing all this and it's keeping central is because we've got it in a central container in this div right here. So what we need to do to get rid of that is take it out of the container. So I'll do that. Just cut it. And I'm going to paste it right up here like that, and press save. And let's have a look at this now. Okay, that's a bit better. We've got the stretch all the way across for the background, but these links, I don't really want to scoot them right over to the left over here. I'd like the links to line up with this content right here, so we can do that as well. All we need to do is, I'm going to get rid of that rule there, height 200, because that's going to target my container. And then I'm going to make a div here with a class of container, and I'm going to put that around the UL like so. And the reason I'm just putting it around the UL and not the nav is because the nav is what is stretching the whole thing. If I just make this bigger, the whole background, the grey, all the way across, and then the container right here is the thing that's keeping this UL, all the links within that central column. Okay, so let me just get rid of that blue line. And now you can see, still one thing I want to sort, and that's this little space here and this little space here. That's down to a style I've done previously, this margin right here. So I'm going to get rid of that as well. And save it. And now, if we take a look at this, there we go, pretty cool. So that is our navigation right there. Now there's a couple of more things that we can do to this by adding some additional classes. Now, on some websites, they have the navbar right at the bottom and it stays there all the time. So we can do this. We can say navbar -fixed -bottom. All right. And now this navbar is always going to appear at the bottom. What I'm going to do is just paste in a load of different content. I think what I'll do is just grab those two, just so we've got enough content to scroll down the page. There we go. That'll do. Okay. Now, when we scroll down the page, no, we still can't do it, can we? Let's put some more in. Okay, save that. Okay, now when we scroll down the page, the navbar is always at the bottom. Okay, one thing you might want to look out for is when I scroll right to the bottom, this last bit of content is still hidden. So we might want to give our container at the bottom some padding so that the content ends roughly around here. So I'll do that now. what I'll do is jump up here and I'll go style. You normally do this in your CSS. I'm just doing it inline so it's quicker. I'll do padding bottom and I'll just say 60 pixels, something like that, and zoom this open again. This time when we go to the bottom, we're getting all of the content. It's not cutting off because we're moving it up 60 pixels, so we're making room for this at the bottom so it's not hiding anything. Okay, so that's the navbar fixed to the bottom. We can also fix it to the top if we like by just replacing this with top. Save that and view it again. And once again we have the same problem. I'm just going to not focus on that so we can see. We have the same problem in that this top element is being hidden by the navbar. So again, if you do this, as you scroll down, you can see it's all going behind that and it's staying in the same position. But if we do this, then what we need to do is apply some padding at the top of the container so that it's not hidden behind here. So we'll do that now. We'll change this to padding top and save that. View it again, and this time it works. Pretty cool, right? Alright then, so that is just about it for navbars, guys. And like I say, I know there's quite a lot of different ways we can do navbars and ULs. It's just a case of looking at the documentation when we need to, depending on what you want. Alright, so if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to throw those down below. Otherwise, guys, I will see you in the very next video.